Hello again. I'm Sandy Oliver, and I'm going to be walking you through a few things today in this weekly work video. I want to explain a little bit about the things that you're going to do a lot of, and also help you understand why we do them. Okay, what's your best bet, that kind of thing. So here we go. One of the two of the parts of our homework grade are, well, yeah, two of the parts for the homework grade are the chapter exercises and the discussion boards. The reading logs have their own grade, and I'm going to kind of walk through that for you. So, first of all, reading logs. Okay, the reading logs are for your benefit, for your use, for your edification, and I want them to be useful for both helping you understand the chapter in each the content, in each chapter and section, and be a resource for your studying for the exams or using for the exams. I want you to do what works for you. And so read a formal outline if that's what helps you, make a summary, take notes, rework some of the examples, define the key terms, draw out the relationships among the main points or ideas, anything that works to help you better understand and work with the ideas in that section or chapter. Okay, so I do want you to have your name block on that. I'll explain that with the homework stuff as well. And again, it's for you to use. So those of you who are kinesthetic, hands-on kind of learners, this is where that comes into play. You take notes, you draw pictures, you do whatever you need to do to understand and internalize the information. So what should you do? Experiment. Try a little of each thing or focus on one at a time. See what is really most beneficial for you. And then run with that format for a while. If you get bored or it isn't working for a particular section, feel free to try something else. I'll tell you, I write things down. Okay, not just because I'm older. I've always been a kinesthetic. I'm a visual kinesthetic, and so I like to read. I like to see what the pretty colors are doing and all of that. But also, I write things down. And I tell people if I'm not writing things down, I'm really not paying attention. Because my brain goes other places. So for you, it might be most helpful to try to put the section or, in your own words. Okay. Or maybe you just want to write down some quotes, or you want to, kind of work through it with the definitions and things. And my allergies are killing me today. So, of course, the day I have to be a talking head all day. And yeah, so there it goes. That may or may not help. Didn't help. So I am, like I said, I write things out. When I was an undergrad, I was in an anthropology class. Wonderful class, great fun. And I was one of the few people who got an A on the first test. I write things down, and then I make a study guide of all the stuff from the lectures, from the homework, from the book, and I write it up by hand. Mostly, if I write things down, I don't have to go back and look at them because they're in my head better. So I had folks in that class with me, friends who didn't do so well. And they're like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "Well, I take notes every day." Well, yeah, they didn't want to do that. And I also made a study guide for, once I got through my notes, I made a study guide for the test. They're like, "Ooh, could we have one of those?" And I said, "Well, I do it by hand, and so anyway, I agreed that I would type up my study guide and make copies, basically. So I did that, and we get to the test, and it's not there, like in my head. And I figured out I don't type and still don't type words. I type letter by letter. I'm spelling everything in my head. Evidently, I can't remember things like that. So I did not get an A on the second test, and the instructor asked me what I did, what happened, I said, "Oh, I tried to be helpful for other people and ended up shooting myself in the foot. So I write things down because that's how I learn. That's how I remember things. And I think even if you're an audio learner only, you can benefit from this because, of course, you can also read them out loud as you're doing things. So there's that. So what should it look like? That depends. You need to have a full page of work, whatever that looks like for you, whatever works for you. So about 300 words. Okay. Now, if you're drawing pictures and different things, as long as you cover the assigned section or chapter, you're good. Okay. Make sure you put your little name block up in the top there so I know whose it is. You're claiming it, basically. There is a little rubric here. I did kind of do things in Canvas sort of along these lines for a rubric so you can kind of see where you're going. So the content stays focused on the section or chapter. It meets the length criteria. It includes all the main ideas. It includes the connections among the points. It might define key terms or identify crucial points. But most of all, it shows a clear understanding of the section. Okay. So what should you not do? Things I don't want to see. I do not want you to use AI to summarize for you. I don't want you to use AI at all in this class. It's a foundational class, like I said with the syllabus. Don't use AI. Don't copy my work from the videos, because I know they have transcripts. Don't copy my work from the chapter notes. And you're like, who would do that? If it's on here, it means somebody probably already did. Don't do it. Do not use anything you find on the internet because that's not what I'm asking you to work on. Okay, what I'm asking you to work on is a particular chapter or particular section. Okay, any of these things will earn you a 0 on the assignment. It may also earn you an academic integrity charge sheet. Those stay with your record, and so if you're cheating in my class and cheating in another class, it's going to come out together and it's not going to be good for you. So just don't. Just so you know, reading logs are a separate grade in this class. They don't get counted in the general assignments or homework percentage. They're worth 20% of your overall grade, and it adds up over the course of the semester. We're only going to do about 18 of these, so make them a priority in your weekly schedule. The next piece of things is, so we do chapter exercises. Dr. Vaughn gives us a lot of chapter exercises. You don't have time to do all of them, and it's not a challenge, okay? So I pick out a few for you to practice with. Some sections have a few more than others because, you know, they help you practice better. And so usually I'll have at least one question from each of the exercise sets. So, and it's kind of interesting. Dr. Vaughn uses the point, like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 as the sections of the chapter, but also the exercises are exercise 1 for the chapter, point 1 is the first set, second set, third set, point 2, point 3, point 4, or whatever it goes up to. Okay, so pay attention to that. Again, use that assignment format template where you can, and make sure that you're answering all the questions that you've been assigned. That gets you credit. That you're answering them to the best of your ability. There are some answers in the back of the book, at the end of the book in your scrolling, and I try not to assign those. Those are the ones with the little asterisks in front of the number, but you can see what the answers should look like by looking in the back of the book. Okay. Again, they're 20 points a piece. I do for each chapter or each section of chapter. There's a reading log and a set of exercises to do. So they'll go right underneath their respective video for that chapter. Okay, so there's that part. The other part that we do every week is a discussion board. Those are posted online. And I kind of told you about those a little bit earlier. But anyway, for the discussion boards, they are in two pieces. Okay, so the first piece is there's a quote. You have to reply to that quote with your response. What do you agree with it? Why or why not? That kind of stuff. And be respectful. You need to have at least 250 words for the post. And then once you post yours, other folks then you can see other people's posts. And then, at least from Socrates on down, I think in the introductions, I let you see things before you post. But after that, not so much. It's hard to cheat off somebody's personal information, right? Excuse me. The other part of the discussion boards, of course, is your responses to your classmates. Those need to be, of course, respectful. Stay on topic. You need to give me at least 2 sentences to get full credit. You can earn extra credit on that as well. You can do more than 2, but they have to have the same rules apply. And you have a few things that you do each time that is, kind of, this is my thing. I'm going to do this, this, and this. Okay, great. You can look up the author, look up the quote before you write about it, that kind of thing. Sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes, not so much. But the ones I've chosen, I think, are good for discussion. So there are lots of ways you could interpret this quote. Somebody might be slightly different from you. Somebody might be diametrically opposed to you. And that makes for some interesting back and forth if you want to do it. So in the Getting Started in Humanities 115 module, there are a couple samples of the homework, and the assignment template is in there as well. So there's that part. I think that covers all of the weekly work stuff. If you have questions or if you can't find something, again, please email me. I'm more than happy to help. Okay? So have a great day. Bye.